What's going on? It's me. I'm back off vacation, fresh and dark with the tan. Welcome to my show. It's Keyshawn Undisputed presents All Facts, No Breaks podcast. Joining me today is a former defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams, a two-time Super Bowl winning coach, my homeboy, my former coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my former, well, I don't want to say former worker with the New York Jets, but Raheem Morris, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, used to work with me in the equipment room while I was a player with the New York Jets, and he was I don't want to call him a water boy. What should I call you? What should I call you, Raheem?
Man,
what was that title?
I was an intern. I was a minority intern that got to come across with the Fritz Powers Alliance and how we started that whole group and being able to add minority interns to training camp. So basically, I was able to get your water, and I would get your water because of the way you treated me.
No. Raheem was just a puppy straight out of Hofstra University in Long Island, New York. Keyshawn Jr., where we practiced at. You was just a little baby, a little puppy, but Raheem was running around the locker room, causing problems or whatnot. Now he is the official head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I got my son on here with me now, Raheem. So
I see.
Come on, man. The NFL is not the only place that nepotism takes place. We do it in TV too.
Hey, this is a grown man that is going to make his own way. I can tell that off the jump. Well documented, well known. I've seen the father Keyshawn come out many times in my time in LA, so I know what that's about. The maturity change. I know you got to have your TV personality on right now, but the maturity level of the grown man that I see that has his son right here makes me not proud. That's the wrong word, but it makes me happy to see you doing the things you've done.
You know what, Raheem? As I tell people all the time, I don't play football anymore, so I don't have to have a certain edge as if I'm playing football. Like I could be a dad. I could do certain things. When coaches see you in between the white lines or in that building, they see a different person than when you're outside the building. Because outside the building as a coach, you don't get to hang out with us. You just you're the coach. And when in Tampa Bay, you're a coach. You're not hanging out with me. I'm going somewhere to the right. You going somewhere to the left. And so the things that you might see on the football field is totally different than in normal everyday life. So your public perception of one person is different than the private perception.
The best part for me, Keyshawn, with all that being said, is watching the level on which you speak of. I remember being a player and you having the demonstrative, physical, all the cool words that coaches bring up, right? When they talk about describing a dog, right? That's who you were. But I watched it transition to the off the field dad and father and husband and really the overall man that you are. And those are the things to me, what people don't know or don't see. And it's good that your son's on to be able to explain that to the people that listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about you. First off, congrats, Coach, on being the new head coach. There were a whole bunch of happy people around the league when the news dropped that the Falcons hired you. Let's take a look at some of these reactions. So Bijan Robinson said, "Praise God. Now let's rock." Jalen Ramsey said, "Falcons got one of, if not the best coach in the NFL for real." The veteran cornerback Robert Alford said, "Let's go. My dog in the A now. This is the mood all year." So how are you feeling, and what excites you most about this team?
Young Keyshawn, man, it's funny because me and your dad, we're older, so we kind of stray away from social media. And I didn't really get a chance to hear it all or see it all. I got a chance to get it secondhand, or right now, seeing it for the first time on X or a post or whatever the case may be. It makes you feel good because you see the amount of lives that you've been able to touch throughout your career. And you've been fortunate enough to be around great players. You've been fortunate enough to be around players who make differences in lives. You've been fortunate enough to be around people that go out there and give everything to this game. And for those guys to say, really neat things or good things about you when to talk about you making some progressive steps and moving forward to be a head coach. It really makes you happy. It really makes you excited. It makes you excited. And it really makes you want to go out there and give it even more to make people right.
Did you ever imagine that you would be back in Atlanta, Raheem?
Key, I've done such a good job, and not to brag or not to have any type of arrogance of not.
What do you mean, not to brag and arrogance? That's what you're doing. It's okay.
No, but it is, but it's not. It's not going to come across as that type of arrogance. It's more that I pride myself on leaving places in high regard, and no matter what the overall outcome was. Everybody, you could always have a chance to appreciate my process. You can have a chance to appreciate what I was about. And I was always kind of, really honest about whatever the job was at hand. So to say that I knew I would come back to the Falcons, I can't sit here and say yes. But what I would tell you is I am absolutely ecstatic that it happened. And I knew that the people that I left in good standing. I left with a good name. I left letting these people know that I would do everything that I could to win a championship here. And that's why I'm here back again.
So, you know me, I always got something sarcastic to say, especially to you, whether we at dinner or wherever we're at together. 15 years ago, you were not ready, in my opinion, to be a head coach in the National Football League. You had a nice season. You did okay. But you was still a kid. You was just, you was basically pushed into that role after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers decided to make you the defensive coordinator, and then 24 hours later, you was a head coach because they got tired of Gruden's bullshit and hired you. 15 years later, do you think that why would it be different this time around than it was the first time?
Keyshawn, that's a really simple answer. And I'll put this on you because you're right? When are you ready to be a head coach? Like, nobody knows when you're ready to be a head coach. You get thrust into these roles and then you go out there and you try to execute, right? And then I thought back then there was a frantic urgency to try to figure out what the job at hand entailed and what you needed to do. And we're able to do it for a short term and win that one season we're to win games, right? But we couldn't maintain it because we didn't build it and do it the right way. And I think now, over the last 15 years or whatever it's been exactly, I think I've dedicated myself to finding ways and learning and maturing and getting different skill sets in order to make sure that I'm ready for the next opportunity when it presented itself. And being able to go to the offense side of the ball, being able to coach on the defense side of the ball, being able to call it in two different worlds, go to a Super Bowl in Atlanta and lose, go to a Super Bowl out there in LA and win one, being able to work with the greatest offensive minds in our game, whether you're talking about Kyle Shanahan, whether you're talking about Sean McVay, or even back in the day with John Gruden and what his perception was when he was doing his offense, whether you disagree or not. It really doesn't matter.
I disagree, but that's okay. That's me.
And it's fine. I just think it was me just having a chance to build myself and be around great people that whole time, right? I didn't even mention Mike Tomlin, who was the guy that has done it that whole last 15 years that you've been able to watch firsthand, being able to be behind those curtains and talk with him and get all walks of life on how you want to move forward and do the next step in what you want to do. So I think all of those learning experiences is what you grow from, right? Along with some of your failures, right? Well documented, right? We did not win enough games in Tampa for me to maintain or keep that job. And I think that's something that you got to look yourself in the mirror and really be honest about. And when you get a chance to go do it again, find a way to make that right and correct it. So by you saying not ready, I don't think that's a knock. I think that's just
not a knock at all. Not a knock at all.
I think that's just you being your authentic, honest self, I wish you would have told me that when I was 32, because I would have certainly listened and been more apt to do some different things, maybe in how we walk that walk. But you probably wasn't ready for that either. But now you are, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's a good thing.
The thing about it, though, like you said, it's not a knock. I recognize at 32 years old, regardless to your age or not, you was pushed into that role. You wasn't interviewed months in advance and weeks in advance, and your name was the hottest name in the coaching circle. You wasn't prepared. All of a sudden, you inherited a staff. You didn't get a chance to bring in your coordinators, bring in your coaches. So all that is understandable. I believe in my heart of hearts, not because I know you, but I believe Atlanta, the first time around when you were an interim coach, you started off, it was mixed reviews, but it wasn't your team. You took over for somebody. I thought they should have hired you then. I honestly did. I was like, man, they need to just give him the job and let him do it his way. They didn't do that. And then they came back a second time around and said, okay, we know that he's ready for this job. Think about your time in Atlanta. You was a receiver coach. Then you was a defensive coordinator. Then you all of a sudden is head coach. I mean, like, that's a lot of movement for one guy in one short period of time to try to get a grasp and then turn it into something. No, but now when you go to Atlanta, all you got to do is find a quarterback, in my opinion. You don't need to say anything. That was me that's talking. Don't say anything, Raheem. You get you a quarterback, I think you're going to be all right. I said it. You didn't say it. You don't need to say anything. I said it for you.
Hey, Key, it's like I don't blame Atlanta 3 years ago for not making me the head coach, right? Things happen for a reason. Things happen for the right reasons, right? There's a reason you came to Tampa and put us in position to win a Super Bowl, right? That's when that happened. It's a reason that I went out to LA to be put in a position with Sean McVay to go have an opportunity to go all in and win a Super Bowl and be a part of the lessons learned and to be able to bring back a different dynamic to get me ready more for Atlanta, right? So like coming back, going full circle, like that's what I value and that's what I appreciate the most. And like, I certainly respect other people's opinion when it comes to whether I should have got the first time or not. But for me, I've never was that bitter guy. I've always been that guy that's pushing forward and knowing like, hey, things happen for a reason. And when the next opportunity shows itself, I'm gonna present my best self.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're the first Black head coach in Falcons franchise history now. Can you talk about what that means to you, especially being in a city like Atlanta with so much Black culture and history?
Keyshawn Jr., this is not even about me. It's not about your dad. This is about you, right? This is, to me, it's about my son Jalen, right? Knowing that you can do potentially anything you want to do when you put your mind to it, right? Knowing that you can make this thing happen, and not just with nepotism with your pops, right? Knowing that if you decide whatever you want to do is possible. The history of being the first Black head coach in Atlanta, that is unbelievable. That is an outstanding achievement. But it's not about me. It's about the people before us. It's about the people then and really the present, right? And letting guys know you got an op to do some really good stuff, great stuff.
This year they hired 4 minority head coaches. Now, Antonio Pierce, obviously, Gerard Mayo, yourself, but I didn't even really, Dave Canellis, I didn't realize he was considered part of the minority group, but I guess I didn't know that. Now I do. When you look at that, though, it's the most in one single season. One single season to bring in that many minorities to take over in the National Football League. Do you think that this is, the times are changing? But do you think that they're changing some, Raheem?
Keyshawn, it's hard to say that times are changing because we're too smart, right, to say that, right? We're too well evolved to say that. But what I did say, Keyshawn, the best part about the process in this year was I don't think it was even brought up of a lack of or a lack of commitment to hiring, people of different ethnic groups, color, race, whatever, creed. That wasn't brought up. What was brought up? It was brought up putting the best coaches in position for these jobs. And it just so happened it was the most hired. And I think the process has gotten better. Obviously still needs work, but I think it's gotten better. And I think the hard work behind everybody involved, whether you're talking about Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent, whether you're talking about the First Pilots Alliance, John Wooten, any of these people. I mean, you can go further, Doug Williams, whether you're talking about, any Terry Robisky, any of these people that I know have been put in position to talk about and be a part of and the hiring process and how you want to go about your structure. I think it's definitely getting more helpful, right? Obviously, it's always room to grow. It's always places we can go. It's always other things we can do. But it's certainly getting better, and it's certainly paying off the efforts for all the hard work that people have put into it.
Most coaches, Raheem, that were coordinators, both on offense and for the most part successful defensive coordinators, they like to call it themselves when they get a head coaching opportunity and a head coaching job. You brought in Jimmy Lake, former head coach of University of Washington, as a defensive coordinator. But will you call it? Will you call it?
No, Key. I want my coordinators to do their job, and I want those guys to get out there and to be ingrained in the game and to be selfish. And that will allow me to be on both sides of the ball to make critical and important decisions for us to move forward. Will I chime in? Of course. I'll chime in on offense, defense, special teams, whatever. And that's just because of the background and the amount of knowledge I've been able to gain throughout the years. Right, your dad, Keyshawn, sits down with me at any restaurant in LA, and he'll tell me exactly what I did wrong on almost every single play.
Really?
Why would I want to be?
Sounds like him.
Yeah, Key, like he shoots you straight. I mean, what is this thing called? No breaks. I mean, it should be just called Keyshawn's life because that's who he's always been, right? So, like, with that type of feel, with the amount of knowledge and the stuff that you gain, I don't want to limit myself to getting caught up in missing a moment of the game, right? You're always able to help. You always be a part of both game plans. You always want to be a part of all three phases of your ball, all phases of your life. You always want to be able to move in a certain attitude, in a certain way. And you want to move that way in order to get guys in position to win football games, right? People give themselves way too much credit because they call it 3 deep. Right. And then as opposed to it being a collaborative thought process about how we want to try to win this game. And because that's the most important one.
You hear that, though, Keyshawn? Raheem, a head coach in the National Football League, Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl champion, listens to me. But you won't fucking listen to me, but he listens to me.
Here we go. Okay.
Like, seriously.
Question. Okay. So the biggest question of the Falcons offseason is who will be QB1? The one player that continues to be linked to the team is Justin Fields, who recently went on the St. Brown's Brothers podcast and had this to say. Take a listen.
You're from Georgia, right?
Yeah, I'm from Georgia.
What do you think about Atlanta? Like, you like Atlanta?
Atlanta would be tough. The only con of going back home is just people hit my phone crazy.
Yeah.
Wanting tickets to the game. But I mean, I think they got a lot of playmakers on the team. And, of course, Bijan. They got my boy Kyle, and then, of course, Drake, too. They probably need one more receiver, but they definitely got some guys over there. And their defense was good this year, too.
They had a good defense last year.
Last year and this year, yeah. Jesse went crazy this year.
Oh, my God.
Sound like he found his quarterback to me, but ain't no tampering. You just be careful.
So, Raheem, what are your thoughts on Justin Fields and his comments?
Obviously, you can't talk about players under contract, right? And like we talked about, you talk about acquiring quarterbacks and what we want to do this is going to be through either trade, it's going to be either through the draft, or it's going to be either through free agency. And I think all those things are open for us, right? And there are a lot of great options out there. And like young Keyshawn, man, like your dad's going to tell you have plan A, plan B, or you may go to Michael Jordan role where you just got one plan. And it's plan A, but at the quarterback position, we certainly better be able to talk about a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, how you can move forward and how you can go win, right? The most important part of all this thing, right? Like now, all those avenues are open, and certainly everything comes into play. And certainly it all comes into play on how the fit works and what's good for the fans and what's good for us. But ultimately, at the end of the day, as your dad will tell you, it's about winning.
Yeah.
How fast you think you could what is this? What is this job for you, Raheem? Is it a rebuild? Is it a start? Like what is the plan? What do you see in this division for you and the Atlanta Falcons?
And Key, you already answered the question because you already know. Like I've talked to you about this before, even just in the process, right? We talked about this, and we talked about this team being ready to win because of the readiness that's been put in place by Terry and some of the staff members that are already here. And I don't want to discredit even some of the coaches that have left here that were being a part of building some of the guys and bringing in some of the people that we already mentioned. But even being here in the prior years, you talk about Grady, you talk about Jake Matthews, talk about Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry, AJ Terrell, and you add those the young studs that your son knew and played with and played around and drafted on fantasy football leagues right now. It's like this team is ready to win. And, let's not kid it, right? We're quarterback away. I don't think that's a secret. I think we got to go and find out and put our guy in position to go have the most success and have the most chance to win that we can. Let's go find that guy. Let's put our heads together. Let's listen. Let's communicate. Let's get somebody that's a part of our Falcon ethos. And let's go out here and win games, man. Like, period. Whether you're in LA or you're in Atlanta, you know that. And like, it is what it is. Embrace that.
What's the better city, LA or Atlanta?
Man, I have been fortunate to live in some great spots. And you were telling me about Atlanta. You were telling me about LA when I was in Tampa, like you said, when I was a baby. And I remember you running home every weekend just to go out there and get that sunshine and be a part of the life and be a part of what is out there and the smooth, cool vibe. But Atlanta was home to me. And it was like coming back to this place and being able to be around people that you saw, familiar faces, coming back to ownership group that you know well and you love. And how could you pick anything over Atlanta with that kind of a background, that kind of a basis? I'm going to. Although it was very much fun being your neighbor for 3 years.
He's just sitting up here lying. You know damn well you'd rather be in LA than Atlanta, but that's okay. You're the Atlanta Falcons head coach, Keyshawn.
Well, I just want to throw out that, Justin Fields unfollowed everyone on the Bears, and he's now following a lot of Falcons players. So I'm just saying, I know you can't talk about it or anything, but
Key, young Key, you talking Spanish to me and your daddy. We don't follow
it's just social media stuff,
Yeah, exactly. I don't.
Just
Raheem,
social media stuff.
I couldn't tell you the first thing about a TikTok or a Tic Tac or nothing else. I don't.
I'm with you.
Not
now,
at all.
You know a Tic Tac, man. You apply that to your tongue and suck. It keeps the breath fresh, man. You know what that is.
You're so damn silly.
One last question before we get out of here. So you were a part of the Washington coaching staff in 2013 that now has 5 current head coaches, including yourself, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, and Mike McDaniels, plus Texas offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. That coaching staff is pretty wild. It's really good. So I'm trying to figure out, how did you guys go 3-13?
Oh man, the situations are always different. The year before, that same staff, I believe we won 10 games with the rookie RG3, and then things were able to just fall apart in that second year, and things went really bad, went really south for everybody, and that's how people got away. But what people don't realize, there were more people even on that staff than that. Just that, Aubrey Pleasant was on that staff as well, who's out in LA right now as the assistant head coach. You had different guys in different walks of life from both sides of the ball. When you talk about Jim Haslett at the time, who was his current head coach from the New Orleans Saints, and he had been doing some really cool things. And Bobby Slowick was working on defense at the time with us. But being over there was kind of cool because you got a chance to reflect, even going back further when Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and some of those people were on the same team, the same thing in Keyshawn in Tampa with your dad. Right. And watch those people grow. So I've been a part of some really cool trees, some good trees, whether it's been Mike Tomlin, Joe Barry, Rod Gardnelli, Monty Kiffin, or whether it be Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur, wherever we were going to Atlanta. That's been ultimately good coaches, being around good people. And when you do things the right way and you settle down and get that competitive urgency the right way, you got a chance to win. And the times that we didn't were the times that we had a chance to lose, Key. And you know how that is, man. You can be as good a coach as you want to be. If you don't have the players, you're not going to do it. Not to blame anybody, but that's just the reality of it all, of bringing it all together and tying all the stuff in together that takes with winning.
Yeah, just remember, Raheem, when I text you or call you during the season when I'm headed to Atlanta, I'm not sitting in no fucking stands. I'm just letting you know that now because I know you got a box. I know you got a box, and so I don't want to hear none of this fool. I got you next time. I don't want to hear any of that.
I don't even know why he's giving me all this unnecessary tough talk like I've ever told him no.
No, but right? I know.
Like
but
he's showing off his podcast followers.
No, I just know.
I get that, right? Like Keyshawn has never, ever heard me say no to Keyshawn. Hey, Rob, hey, I want to come to this game. Hey, Rob, I'm going to see you at the game. I don't go out, Keyshawn, but I'm going to come out to see you. And now he wants to give me all this tough talk.
I just want to make sure.
And then give us that nice, beautiful smile. Man, set some good examples for your son and let him know that we deeper than that. And you and your son can come sit in my box anytime they want to.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining me. I know you're at the Combine. You got to go find some players to help Atlanta get it turned around in that weak-ass division. Again, thank you, Raheem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
You knew we had to try to get the last word on, but as Keyshawn would say, people say your dad, hey, you couldn't run, Keyshawn. And Keyshawn say, they don't pick you number 1 overall if you can't run.
Well, it's the truth. If you can't run, they don't pick you, especially at a skilled position. When have you ever picked a dude that high that cannot run?
I had to get him going,
run a little, I think.
Man, please. Thanks, Raheem. Go to work, man.
And Keyshawn was a dog, and I can still see him get up with the bloody nose with the jet uniform on when he got hit by the safety, just mean mugging the crowd. And that's the Keyshawn I love, not this one talking crap on podcasts.
All right, buddy.
Thank you so much for coming.
All right, that's a wrap today. Again, my homeboy Raheem Morris joining the show. Don't forget to subscribe and follow All Facts Podcast on social media. Until then, Keyshawn, peace. We absolutely hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more from us, hit that subscribe button for all videos, full episodes, and exclusive content from the show. And don't forget to find All Facts, No Breaks on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.